Your child answers you in German when you spoke to them in Kiswahili. They mix a Kiswahili word into a German sentence mid-conversation. Somewhere along the way, someone may have told you this means your child is confused. They are not confused. Researchers call this code switching, and the current understanding is clear. It is not a sign of language confusion. It is a sign of sophisticated language sorting.
This is for the ones who are holding both worlds, working the numbers while raising the boys, sending back home while we're planning right here, legacy growing with every new year.
Why your child might not actually be bilingual yet, you assumed it will just happen. 2 languages in the house, a bilingual child, automatically. The research says that's not how it works. 5 episodes. The country question, the discipline fear, the translator question, the race question, the comment about her skin. All of it has been about what's hard. Today is different. Today is about something you can actually build. Your child hearing Kiswahili at home and German at school, you assumed that combination does the work by itself. It doesn't. I am your host, Lynn Benson. Researchers who study bilingual development in immigrant families have found something most parents never hear. Children who grow up hearing 2 languages from birth often reach school age with low levels of skill in both, not strong in one and weak in the other. Low in both, and it's not about intelligence, and it's usually not about income, it's about exposure. 6 things the research actually shows. Thing 1, the amount and quality of exposure is what matters. Bilingual development is supported when children are exposed to both languages in ways that don't diminish either one more than necessary, and that exposure needs to come from people who are genuinely fluent, not just familiar. A grandmother on a video call for 10 minutes a week is not the same as daily immersion. Thing 2, your child probably isn't behind. You may just be measuring the wrong thing. One of the most cited researchers in this field, Ellen Bialystock, along with colleagues who have studied bilingual vocabulary for decades, found something that should genuinely relieve you. When you measure a bilingual child's total vocabulary, both languages added together, their word knowledge matches or even exceeds monolingual children's. The mistake many parents and even some teachers make is comparing a bilingual child's German vocabulary alone against a monolingual German child and concluding the bilingual child is behind. That comparison is simply measuring the wrong thing. Count both languages together, and the picture usually looks completely different. I also want to be honest with you about something in this research, because Futuretainment doesn't oversell findings. For years, some researchers claimed that bilingual children get a general cognitive advantage, better attention, better mental flexibility simply from managing 2 languages. That idea is now genuinely debated. Some well-designed studies have found this advantage. Others, including a large study comparing Basque Spanish bilingual children to Spanish monolinguals, found no meaningful difference at all. The honest answer is, the jury on a general bilingual brain boost is still out. What is not debated is the vocabulary finding I just gave you. That one holds up. Thing 3, the specific fear almost every bilingual parent has had at some point, and why the research says you can let it go. Your child answers you in German when you spoke to them in Kiswahili. They mix a Kiswahili word into a German sentence mid-conversation. Somewhere along the way, someone may have told you this means your child is confused. They are not confused. Researchers call this code switching, and the current understanding is clear. It is not a sign of language confusion. It is a sign of sophisticated language sorting. A child who can move between 2 languages inside a single sentence is actively managing 2 full language systems in real time. That is a skill, not a symptom. There's actually a whole area of research that pushes this even further. Linguist Ofelia Garcia, who has spent her career studying bilingual children, argues that when a bilingual child mixes languages, they're not switching between 2 separate walled-off systems at all. They're drawing on one full flexible language repertoire that happens to include both, and using whichever part of it best expresses what they mean in the moment. Researchers call this translanguaging. Under that view, mixing isn't even a compromise between two languages. It's your child using the entire toolkit they actually have. Think 4 children drift toward the louder language on their own, without you noticing. As school-age children shift toward dominance in the majority language, researchers found they become less willing to speak the heritage language even when they still understand it. This is why a child can understand everything you say in Kiswahili and answer you back entirely in German. That's not defiance. That's the majority language quietly winning one conversation at a time. Thing 5 is the part that actually changes what happens in your house tonight. The specific strategy parents in real studies used that worked. Thing 5. The families who succeeded had one thing in common, a rule, not just an intention. One well-known approach is called one parent, one language, each parent consistently speaking a different language to the child. A major study following over 2,000 families found that 75% of children raised this way successfully became bilingual, but that number depended heavily on how strictly families actually stuck to it. And that's the real finding underneath all of this research across every study I've mentioned today. It's not really about which method you choose, it's about consistency. Families who succeeded weren't the ones who tried to speak the heritage language sometimes. They were the ones who set an actual policy reading bilingual books together and speaking only the heritage language at home, specifically as a house rule. Not we try to speak Kiswahili sometimes. A rule, at home, this is the language. Think 6 community-run language programs and cultural events were also identified as one of the most effective tools for keeping heritage languages alive, not something families did alone, in isolation. A rule at home builds the foundation. A wider community that also speaks the language is what makes that foundation feel normal, rather than like an obligation only your household carries. If a Swahili play group, a diaspora church service in your language, or a cultural Saturday school exists anywhere near you, it is doing work your home alone cannot do by itself. Before I close, one honest number worth having in your back pocket, because people will quote it at you with total confidence. You'll often hear that a child needs a minimum of 20 to 30% of their waking hours in a language to actually acquire it, roughly the origin of what's become known online as the 30% rule. It comes from real researchers, including psycholinguist Fred Genesee, who used that threshold when selecting children for bilingual studies. But I want to be honest with you about this one too, the same way I was about the cognitive advantage debate. Some linguists argue this number has been misquoted and oversimplified as it spread that Genesee was describing a research selection criterion, not a guarantee, and that the actual quality of interaction matters more than hitting an exact percentage. A parent playing and genuinely talking with a child in the heritage language is not the same as background television in that language, even if the clock time looks identical. So take the number as a rough compass, not a countdown. If you're nowhere near 20%, that's worth knowing and adjusting for. If you're already there, don't panic chase a higher number instead of simply talking to your child. Here's what I want you to take from this. And if you've been quietly worried your child is behind because their German vocabulary alone looks smaller than their classmates, or because they mix languages mid-sentence, you are very likely measuring the wrong thing or worrying about the wrong sign entirely. The good news, this is the first thing in 5 episodes that is entirely in your control starting tonight. This is Futuretainment. I am Lynn Benson. We are rooted in 2 worlds. We are building one legacy. The one action this week, pick one part of the day. Dinner. The car ride to school. Bath time. Make it a rule. This time, this language, every day. Not a hope, a rule. I will see you on Friday.
leave something worth inheriting. This is Futuretainment.